Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews. It's your hosts Ian.
Hello.
And Gary. And today we're joined by Tony.
Hiya.
To review Mortal Kombat.
No, Gary. You gotta say it like this.
Mortal Kombat was a video game that was first released in 1992 and has since had a wide plethora of games within its franchise, which is still running today, most recently with its reboot, Mortal Kombat. But it's also not to say that we've also had Mortal Kombat versus DC, which was, in my case, kind of a little bit too PG. Perhaps where Mortal Kombat, the original game, was one of the first games ever to feature decapitations, hearts being pulled from chests, brutal fatalities.
As you say, it's all started in '92 with the first Mortal Kombat game. It immediately caught people's attention with motion captured characters of real people, and people's reactions, obviously in the arcades when they see the fatalities for the first time, straight away, I mean, people were hooked. Big time.
Yeah.
And from that came Mortal Kombat 2. And in my opinion, Mortal Kombat 2 being I think it's my favourite.
Yeah.
Still, because it's still very true to Mortal Kombat. Obviously, if you compare it to all the other most recent releases, plus all the additions to it, like the friendships, the abilities, and the Toasty guy. Which was also a nice little touch, which adds that element of a little bit of cheese to the game, but I think that's what makes the game, unique, so to speak.
Mortal Kombat has pretty much stood over the shoulders of, say, Street Fighter and Tekken and Soul Calibur. It's the violence alone which makes Mortal Kombat fucking just brilliant.
Jax wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
But not only that, Mortal Kombat the video games have a legacy of having the cheapest, most frustrating, controller-breaking bosses I have ever fucking come across in any game. Shao Kahn, I'm looking at you, you douche. But yeah, why don't you give us the synopsis for Mortal Kombat the movie?
Well, the story follows a group of chosen warriors from around the world who have been brought to a tournament held on an island by the evil Shang Tsung. What they don't realise is that they're actually battling to stop an evil emperor from invading our world. I fucking love this movie. I remember first playing Mortal Kombat on the Mega Drive and wanting them to turn it into a film. We're talking back in the days where games were hush-hush of being films. And then Mortal Kombat is released and I'm like, I want to see a decapitation on screen. I don't get it, but I get to see Sonya Blade. Woohoo!
That's the biggest disappointing thing about Mortal Kombat, the movie, for me, is that it's a PG movie.
Yeah.
They originally said that the script was an R rating, which was for us is like an 18 certificate. Doesn't really show. There's hardly any... Well, Mortal Kombat the game has never really had any bad dialogue or swearing, per se. No. It was all about the gory ends to the fights, which this movie doesn't have. What it does have, and this is one of only two times I will ever credit Paul Anderson, or Paul W.S. Anderson, as we know him, because he is the diabolical douchebag that went on to make such shitty movies as the Resident Evil series.
Oh, I like the Resident Evil series.
Me too. Alien vs Predator, not bad.
Not bad. I won't go that far.
Paul Anderson is a hack of a director, but, as I was going to say, credit to him for perhaps still making the best video game to movie adaptation to date.
And sticking to the story.
And sticking to the story, which is interesting you say, is because the story of the movie, of the first two Mortal Kombat movies that I know, they were both written by Ed Boon and
John
Tobias.
Exactly, the makers of the Mortal Kombat games, and they have kind of been there throughout Mortal Kombat's entire lifespan. It's their baby that they've kind of grown to maturity, and so it was to the film's credit that they were there, because the original game didn't really have much story. You had characters that were iconic, that you could almost believe any story that was wrapped around them because they were perhaps too iconic, where in the movie you actually get to see their sort of storylines, because it's only in later fighting games where every character would sort of have a beginning movie and an end movie. In this Mortal Kombat movie, you almost see everyone's intro movies and almost everyone has an ending movie. It kind of feels like that. So, and the video games essentially are about one thing only: fighting.
Yeah.
See, I do really love the stories. You know, you've got Liu Kang's story. You know, starting off with his brother going up against Shang Tsung. You say there's no fatalities. He gets his back broken. He gets stamped on. And obviously it turns out that obviously Liu Kang is the chosen one, and if you've ever played a Mortal Kombat game, you know how integral Liu Kang is to the story. Sonya Blade tracking down Kano, nice little story as well, because now we've got Kano involved. He's not as annoyingly badass as he is obviously in the game, but he's still played by a brilliant actor. And then we get to my favourite, Johnny Cage. I love his opening sequence. He walks into the hangar, you see all those guys pull out weapons, he beats the shit out of all of them. And then that one guy won't go down, and he's just like,
this is where you fall down.
and it turns out to be a film set, and I'm like, yeah, a film within a film.
Well, being a Scorpion fan, I can't disagree more with your sort of Johnny Cage. I mean, no.
See, the Scorpion was quite a nice little touch, because obviously trying to explain this backstory of a undead spectre, you didn't want to go into too in depth, because obviously he was an evil character. But the way they brought his spear to life, his spear, I love, because you know it's got this little face, and you know if you get hit by it, it's fucking over.
I thought that CGI effect, looking back at it now, is unforgivably awful. It looks really naff, and it was the CGI effects in this movie were made by some of the same team that worked on Terminator 2. They literally finished that and then went straight into Mortal Kombat. Did they not learn anything from Terminator, which looked fantastic, compared to this poor excuse? And I've got to say, Reptile, when he's in lizard form, looked like somebody went onto the camera.
Yeah, very colourful.
I was like, all I can see is teeth and some unfinished CGI work. It looked terrible. And I was like relieved when the creature got inside the broken statue. And I was like, okay, because I hate to see Liu Kang fighting nothing. But then we have Goro, who is absolutely iconic from the games as being the four-armed prince, this creature that just pulverizes you into the ground, literally just hammers you in, and his appearance in the movie is fantastic. The puppet work was brilliant, because you could actually physically have him there on set. He actually was intimidating by the size of him. The only disappointing thing that I have with the effect is the lips. The lip sync was horrible with the puppet. It didn't work very much, and for me, it instantly just detracted me from any scenes.
I'll second that, but also another thing that was disappointing with the Goro effect, when you look back on it now, is his legs are very disproportional to the rest of his body. He's got a very long torso. But I suppose for the time, I mean, to achieve the effect with the guy that's inside the suit, I mean, it'd have to have been done that way. But I mean, they probably could do a much better job of it now.
Yeah. It was disappointing because when Goro is like having a fight with like 8 or 9 foot soldiers, all we see is foot soldiers just in slow motion going, and falling into the sand, and you can hear Goro, and I'm like, well, fucking show it.
Well,
Don't want to see all these guys flying into the sand.
Yeah, you're building up.
So
I mean,
disappointing.
If you're going to have a 10-minute fight for every time Goro steps in the ring, that's like, he kills like 9
20.
people. Yeah, he just fucking whacks them.
I want to see that.
Shang Tsung's having a fucking field day with sucking up these souls. But it builds up to, obviously, the whole Johnny Cage moment where, obviously, he sets it up that he wants to fight Goro. And obviously, that will lead to the end. But I do want to bring up quickly Raiden. Fucking Christopher Lambert as Raiden is fucking awesome. The first time he turns up and he just looks at Liu Kang, and Liu Kang's like,
Grandfather, get up! This isn't your god of thunder and lightning. He's just a beggar.
Spare him, my lord Raiden. American life has enfeebled his mind. Too much television.
then Raiden's like, come on, take me. And Liu Kang is just like, wow, bang, onto the floor, and he just stands there, electricity in his eyes. I'm done. I'm done. I'm cool. Raiden's there.
I think Christopher Lambert as Raiden was very good. That was good casting. It was good casting.
Well, Christopher Lambert wanted to do the part because he is an avid video game player himself, and he was just jumped at the opportunity to play such an iconic Thunder God role.
Yeah.
I got a little bit tedious of Christopher Lambert sort of laughing at the end of every sentence, or just having the sparkle of electricity. I was like, you're overdoing that effect.
One of you three will decide the outcome of the tournament. The fate of billions will depend upon you. Sorry.
I would have loved to have seen Raiden
Actually
fight,
fight.
because obviously he was an integral part, but it was nice to have him as this
mentor,
granddad figure trying to get Liu Kang and Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade to do what their characters basically do in the game.
But sticking to the story, I mean, Raiden being the Thunder God, God of Thunder and Lightning, he being immortal, he's not allowed in the tournament.
Not allowed into it,
Whereas he is in the game, which kind of
contradicts.
It does a little bit, yeah.
But at the same time,
he's there to make sure that the forces of darkness don't cheat their victories. And so he's kind of like adjudicator for the good guys. And Christopher Lambert he's a B-movie actor. I'm sorry, he's not a great actor, but he is still so charismatic that anytime Raiden turns up on screen, I'm waiting for the great dialogue pieces to come, and they don't. They are really hammy and really whimsical, and like, Liu Kang, you must learn your lessons. You must understand your destiny. And Liu Kang's like, I'm here for revenge, and Raiden's like,
See, at the same time, the set pieces, I do watching it again. Seeing the set pieces, they're just as good as the backgrounds from the game. You got these like wide open gardens with these fucking fearsome stone statues all over the place. The first moment you see Sub-Zero in action, and they're all sitting there, they're having their lunch, big banquets going on.
What a waste of food, by the way. Sorry, I just have to say that.
All those guys come in, they fucking trash the room, they all line up, and that guy just runs at Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero's like, freeze, fuck you.
Back to what you were saying originally about the Mega Drive version of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the best version of Mortal Kombat, Super Nintendo, they brought out their version, but oh my god, was that watered down? You were not allowed the blood. I mean, straight away, that's an off-put in itself. What is Mortal Kombat without blood? It's
was a bit like
pizza without
the
pizza base. It's just, it doesn't make sense. But they also brought out on the Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat 2, which wasn't a bad rendition of Mortal Kombat 2, but again, it was still watered down. I mean,
Yeah.
whereas the Mega Drive version, they were like, nah, let's just
Fuck it.
chuck in the blood.
But obviously that leads up to bringing in additional characters in the film, like Katana.
Yeah.
She is quite the hottie.
Agreed.
Even when she sat there underneath her little umbrella and Liu Kang's like, "Bang, I'm going to win this tournament and I'm going to fuck you." And Raiden's like, "You going to fuck you."
Sorry.
Obviously, it leads up to the good fighters beating the crap out of all of the people they have to. They have fights against Sub-Zero, fights against Kano, fights against Scorpion, following up with the fight against Goro. And then Shang Tsung, being the fucking mischievous wizard that he is, just whisks Sonya away to Outworld.
I have a problem with that moment. Throughout the movie, and I give it credit to that, is that this film does have very strong female characters. And just like the video game.
Yeah.
And Sonya, from the opening that we see her with her shotgun, walking around the nightclub, sort of blasting after Kano, which is, just as a small side, is that everyone in that nightclub is completely oblivious to the shotguns and machine guns being fired off. They're just like fucking dancing some more.
Yeah.
And so she's this really strong character, and you see her get her revenge, and she takes down Kano.
Right! Finish him!
No, son, no. Don't. Oh, give me a break.
Okay.
And she's a badass.
Yeah.
The actress did all of her own stunts in the movie.
But I personally think her fighting was pants. She could not fight for toffee.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She did her own moves.
I prefer the Sonya in the
games.
second film.
Or in the second,
Yeah.
But don't prefer the second film.
Okay, so maybe that was the actress, but the actual character itself is a very strong character. And to literally have her arm put behind her back, she's rendered immediately powerless. And Shang Tsung just whisks her off to the other world, and you hear that scream echo. And you're just like, why didn't she even put up a slight fight? She's got Johnny Cage and Liu Kang like right there.
See, I love these little bits. As much as I love this film, there's a few points that are just like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like the lead up to Liu Kang and the reptile fight. You know, so Johnny Cage and Liu Kang are walking down that little street. You know, it looks like North Prospect or somewhere. And Liu Kang grabs Reptile and he throws him into that statue. The statue comes alive and eats Reptile, or Reptile melts with it. And he smashes Liu Kang through the wall and they start fighting.
Which is an awesome fight.
What the fuck is Johnny Cage doing? The only thing I can think is he's outside fighting like 50 or 60 guys and he can't come inside.
Or he's thinking, fuck that
He's
shit.
like, fuck that, it's a secret fight, I'm not getting involved.
There's no newspapers or cameramen around. It's like, I'm going to get any press for that.
And it's a really brilliant fight, but then you cut to Sonya in the tower with Shang Tsung. And she's in a new dress and her hair's done.
Well, I like that it was a nod to the second game where Sonya is a prisoner in the palace.
Yeah.
So it kind of alluded to.
I didn't actually think of that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Let's talk about the fight sequences. The first fight sequence with Scorpion and Johnny Cage.
Yeah, that is my favourite fight sequence by far. The choreograph in this is absolutely brilliant. It really is.
Yeah.
Just disappointed with the ending, with your character beating my character with such a sneaky hit. Obviously, he just got lucky.
Well, to Johnny Cage's credit, he is the only character to actually get a genuine flawless victory in this movie. The amount of times that they use that line, flawless victory, and I'm like, well, hang on a second, they got equal amount of punches and kicks in. That was not a flawless victory. But Johnny Cage is the only one to get one against Goro, of all things possible. And I'm kind of scratching my head going, really? Really?
Yeah, that is my favourite scene, the Johnny Cage package check. I love the little nods in this film. I mean, it's like the Scorpion Johnny Cage fight. He picks up a weapon And which would obviously only come later on in the game series where you could use weapons.
Yeah,
he allows a friendship at the end with Scorpion with the picture dropping down,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
obviously
That
wasn't
insult to injury.
wasn't available in Mortal Kombat 1. And then obviously going up against Goro, and it's just like, first thing he does is he punches him right in the balls, and I'm like, yes!
Some $500 sunglasses, asshole.
And back to what you were saying about the fatalities, the flawless victories. I agree with you with what you were saying. Also, with Reptile, being a hidden character, you didn't really see Johnny Cage or Liu Kang getting 2 flawless victories or a witch going across the moon. Like, I see your point. Like.
Yeah.
The Reptile fight with Liu Kang, I think, is brilliant. Mainly because it just builds up. Reptile was a badass in the fight, just like he is in the game. And then it builds up to the bicycle kick. And he bicycle kicks him out the fucking
That
wall.
there was my signature Liu Kang move every time I played the game. I'd even start every
release,
fight. As soon as the fight started, it would be... So with the movie actually being primarily a martial arts movie, it was all about the fights. And some of the fight scenes worked very, very well. And some of them came across quite... they all came across really well, actually. I quite like the martial arts in this movie.
Ultimately, though, obviously leads up to the Liu Kang Shang Tsung fight. And I've got to give it to the actor playing Shang Tsung. He is quite an imposing figure. Building it up to this fight where Liu Kang takes on like 9 guys.
Again, to the filmmakers' credit, they got in some very talented fight choreographers for this movie. They brought in some very select people, and the fight scenes look just like techno dance routines. And it works to the film's credit, because in the background, when you have all of the other extras that are in there, and when they have these spectacular fight scenes, they do work. They are actually doing some of these stunts themselves. And this, you got to remember that the age that this film came out in, Western audiences had not been privileged to all of these martial arts movies that we now have, like for instance The Raid, which are just breathtaking martial arts sequences, but they still come from these other countries. And the makers of Mortal Kombat wanted to have traditional American style storytelling, but actually show this this other world of martial arts. And they do pull it off quite well to an extent. And I think that I would also put that to the locations that they did actually go to for this movie, because it wasn't all just done on sets. They actually went to Thailand and went to some of the most exotically beautiful locations ever to film these fight scenes in, and that just adds a whole new character to it, just like the video games where the stages are just as memorable as the characters. So, favourite scene from Mortal Kombat, Iain?
My favourite scene is the package check. It's got to be a lot of the Johnny Cage scenes, but mainly punching Goro in the balls.
Yeah, I've got to say, Johnny Cage is perhaps my favourite character in this movie. He never used to be. It always used to be Liu Kang, because he was always my character of choice for the games. But rewatching the movie now, Liu Kang for the first half of the movie is a douchebag. He really is just so frustratingly annoying. I mean, but you can say that this is like the origin of Liu Kang, because he does become this hero of Earthrealm.
Yeah.
But his origin is just no. So therefore, in the first movie, Johnny Cage steals the show with his very bad one-liners, which are hilarious still to watch now, all the way to the point where when they get to the island on the boat and he's standing there with all of his luggage cases trying to get off the boat, and he just face plants right into the water. I'm just like, it's funny. It is funny.
Okay, I give up. What's going on?
I don't know. But what if all the legends were true?
What legends?
Favorite scene, Tony?
Favorite scene has got to be the Scorpion and Johnny Cage fight.
Yeah.
Not just because Scorpion's my favorite character, but I think, the fight choreograph for this was absolutely amazing, and the backdrop was breathtaking. Personally, I
love that forest. The forest.
Yeah, the first stage, and then when he teleports to the underworld.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely amazing. It just looks really good, really good.
Welcome!
So would you recommend Mortal Kombat?
Highly recommend Mortal Kombat. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you haven't seen it for years, go back and watch it. It's still as cheesy as it was and is, but it's still fun. Scorpion on screen, Sub-Zero on screen. You might want to dip into Annihilation if you get the chance, but that's pushing it a bit far with the difficulty with the story that they have. But definitely recommend Mortal Kombat 1.
Tony?
I'd definitely recommend Mortal Kombat 1. I think they did a very good job from game to movie. One of the best from game to movies.
Still, yeah.
So I would highly recommend it, especially for Mortal Kombat fans.
Yeah.
I do and I don't recommend Mortal Kombat, and it's obvious why. Because you know what you're getting into. I mean, if you were to sit down and go, what's Mortal Kombat? Really? Then you should watch it. But for the most part, you automatically know whether you're going to watch it or not. But for me, it's a case of when to re-watch it. And it is a nostalgia thing, and it is something that the instant, I mean, because I was umming and ahhing about when to watch it, and the instant the soundtrack started, I cranked the volume up and turned the lights off, because that is it. That music alone, it went platinum within 4 weeks of the movie's release. It is still iconic. It is still played today, just like the Ghostbusters theme tune. Absolutely memorable. But the film is weak. The characters are weak. The storyline is something we've seen 100 times before from myths and legends, but it's done in its hamminess way. It still works. Yeah. And so you can get a real enjoyment out of it, perhaps more so than rewatching Doom or Resident Evil. Yeah. Mortal Kombat has everything. It has all of the characters, all of the set pieces, all of the dialogue. It is everything you could ever really want from a video game to movie adaptation. And so on those levels, then I have to recommend Mortal Kombat. Stay away from Annihilation, because you'll watch everything that they worked so hard for in the first one to just be shafted in the second one. And it is it's really bad to watch. Some of the effects looked better, and some of them looked frighteningly worse. I will say, though, that Mortal Kombat continues to have a legacy outside of the games, with numerous fan-made films, with the TV series that's still running, where it's got reoccurring cast members from some of those movies, and they're telling origin stories and future stories and other world stories. There's comic books. There is so much lore and mythology that's been built up over this near 30 years of Mortal Kombat, that there is a world in there to get lost into. And the Mortal Kombat movie, if that is your gateway into it, then there you go.
Get over here!
Tootsie! Is that all you got?
Iain, back forward, high punch.
Thanks for watching.
Off the shelf review.